All right, Glow Getters, welcome back to another episode of the Glow Collective. I'm your host, Dr.V, and today we bring you another guest speaker who is going to take your glow to the next level by talking about how we can get back up after making major mistakes in life. And also we're going to talk about what social media is and what it's not. And honestly, social media is not what you really think it is. So stay tuned. Today I have Dexter Daniels on. He's a social media advocate, life coach, motivator, and an inspiring author. Dexter Daniels was born in Linden, Guyana, and moved to Washington, D.C. when he was 2 years old. He grew up quiet and soft-spoken and really had to turn to his family and faith. Growing up, he avoided the spotlight and focused on doing well in school. That led him to be valedictorian, and he went on to a prestigious high school and college. After that, he joined the Marines and served 16 years via 5 duty stations. He's experienced adversity in and out of the Marines by getting married and divorced in 2018, which was completely life-changing for him. In response, Dexter spent 2 years reading over 50 self-improvement books. He then started writing books and published his very own, titled Consistent, Not Different, in 2021. He developed the Desired Path Cycle, started life coaching, and really helped navigate and understand the social media landscape. In 2 years, he has gained over 20,000 followers on Instagram. And at this point, Dexter does social media consulting and is enrolled at Pacific Rim Christian University. So stay tuned for this episode. Get ready, because we hope that you, our listeners, have learned something from his stories and really want you to feel inspired to get back on your feet no matter how tough things are going. We also give you some social media hacks and tips and how to understand that there's more to social media than meets the eye. This is a powerful episode, so get ready to unleash your glow. How are you feeling?
Yo, I am doing well today. Super tired. I can't lie, I'm pretty tired, but I'm doing well. Today started off good.
Well, today will be just good flow, just conversation. I know we don't get to connect very much, so this will be a really good opportunity to learn more about each other and share that conversation with others.
Yeah, for real. Like, you're super busy. I can't lie.
I keep myself preoccupied, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did some research, and then like every time I turn around, I feel like you have a different Instagram page I haven't heard about that just pops up.
You know, sometimes it's hard to find that focus of what sticks. So I'm happy to say that we have DRV Skin, we have the business page, Integrative Derm Med Spa, Derm Laser Spa, and then we have the Glow Collective. There's some others that I don't really use.
There's some others, right? I found some of those others. I was like, what is this? I didn't know you were this creative. It's cool. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, there's probably ones where I like designing things. I like designing content. And then, so there's probably a couple random ones out there that probably people don't even know it's me because my name's not on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have like one random profile that no one knows about. Well, some people do, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like a test page.
Well, first off, thank you for taking time to meet and come on the show. Really excited for the next hour we get to spend. So why don't you tell us a little, why don't you tell, our Glow Getters listening a little bit about yourself?
Most definitely. Like, I remember back when we did, what was it? It was like a glow up challenge. It was like 10 days in a row. Yo, that was a long time ago, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's close to 2 years ago. I would say you inspire me and you also push me to do things like this, which might be a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but like the results from it is always good. So I like that. A little bit about me. I don't know. I don't really like to talk about myself a lot, but what I tell people is I was born in Guyana. So, just like wasn't born in America. I was born in Guyana. I came to America when I was 2 years old, Washington, D.C. Then I grew up there. I was super quiet. And it's weird, like the way you're raised as a kid has so much to do with how you live the rest of your life. Like kids are like fragile, like babies. If they're dropped, not like literally, but if they're dropped in a sense, like it could just, damage or shape their whole future. There's something to said. There's something to be said about how you were born and who you are as a person too. But like your environment, your upbringing, definitely. With that being said, I don't want to jump into it too much, but my first day of school was very tragic to me. And I felt like it completely changed my personality. I still have that part, but it stays reserved. Like I don't really show that to a lot of people. So I grew up just focusing on school. I was very smart, did well, became valedictorian. Like I was surprised that I was valedictorian. I didn't know until like the last second in ninth grade. I went on to a really good high school that my sisters went to. Unfortunately, I didn't graduate from that because of some adversity. Joined the Marines. So I grew up pretty spiritual, learned a lot about God. And, I had this church leader who, she was just amazing, and it really shaped my future. It really shaped my future just because I didn't grow up raised directly from my parents. My mom and my dad, they weren't raised directly from their parents, but it wasn't their fault. So kind of like they had 5 kids and they tried their best to make it work. And in America, that meant like working hard and providing because it's very expensive in DC to raise 5 kids, especially when you're just being parents for the first time. I didn't learn a lot about life until I joined the Marine Corps. So my prophet is my church leader teaching me. I learned a lot of the values from church because they weren't like, sit at the table and talk about your life and talk about your future, talk about planning. It was like none of that. It was kind of like there's some food in the fridge. So I kind of did my job. I got to sleep so I could, go to work later. And I love them and I appreciate them. I really think they did their best for who they are as parents and I respect them. But that's just kind of like what happened. So in the Marine Corps, that's when I started to learn about life. I started learning about people. I started learning about leadership. I went to 5 different duty stations. I've been to North Carolina, South Carolina, Quantico, Virginia. New Orleans was pretty good. Hawaii was the best. I'm still in Hawaii. And after about 16 years, I got out. I'm probably going to stop there. The rest will probably come out in the interview.
No, thank you for opening up and just being vulnerable and sharing things that are challenging and just vulnerable. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome, yeah.
So you spent 16 years in the Marine and then you decided to leave and become a civilian again. Can you tell us a little bit about the transition process and maybe some of your top 3 lessons or as many lessons that you learned from being in the Marines?
Yeah, definitely. So it was a weird way that I got out. It's kind of like typically I could have stayed in and did 20 years, but I kind of forced my hand by getting in trouble 2 years prior, and it gave the military opportunity to deny my reenlistment. So that was just like a tragic ordeal. I waited about 9 or 10 months to get a reply from the military, and it seemed like it was going to be favorable. Then it was kind of like, unfortunately, we can't keep you. So this coincided with March 2020, and I think a lot of people know what happened around that time of March
Mhm.
2020. So like I had about 3 to 4 months to get out the military. So I had to do a lot of planning last minute. And yeah. But as far as like in the military, like the Marine, I say military now, which is weird. But when I was active duty Marine, I would say Marines, right? The Marines is beautiful. It's the smallest branch of the military. We have the least resources, but we do the most with it. We technically fall under the Navy. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah. And, I think there's a lot of principles in terms of discipline and dedication that came through. And, you know, there's always misdirection or redirection, right? However we choose to see it. So how would you say that these things that are what you're right, tragedies and adversities that you face, how have you taken them and use it and turn them into opportunities?
Yeah, so the Marines, I heard, who was it? I feel like it was David Goggins. Maybe it was somebody else. I can't remember exactly who it was, but they said SEAL training is like a lifetime of challenges squeezed into like 6 months of training, right? And that's to be a Navy SEAL. They're amazing. The Marine Corps, we're not Navy SEALs, but it's about 3 months of boot camp. And I feel like the Marine Corps is a whole lifetime of challenges. One of my biggest challenges happened in 2018. Right, I was like 14 years into the Marine Corps, and I feel like there's no age limit where you stop learning or you stop making mistakes that you felt that you shouldn't be making or you're too old to make. Like being a Marine, you have a lot of leaders that are younger than you because they went to college if you're enlisted. So with age, it's just the more age you have, the more experiences you collect. But it's more important about what you do with those experiences.
And I love that. And I
Yeah,
think, one of the things you said about making mistakes, right? And not being afraid to make mistakes, but using them to learn. So what can we do
yeah.
to learn and recover from them?
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm like everywhere a little bit. So 2018, I made a bunch of mistakes. That's the that's the year I got married and divorced at the same time. And then I also got into like the most trouble with the Marine Corps. It was weird because like I just got to Hawaii and I had this idea of how I wanted to, you know, improve my career from that point on. But I added in like the first time I had to deal with like the whole behind the scenes of having a personal life in the military, right?
What is that?
The per- the personal life. So I was
Yeah.
single this whole time. Yeah, I've been single until that point where I got married. I had like a couple of relationships. It was the first time I was living with somebody and then also living with someone that had a kid, because I don't have any kids. I never put enough value in how impactful the home life is to your work life. And, that experience opened my eyes up to it.
So in what way, like what would you say were things that you didn't appreciate at the time that you do now?
So the Marines are just kind of like, they have this, I'm like an old school Marine, right? I came in way before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I came in 2004, right when we started to invade Iraq. And like, in perspective, this was about 4 years, no, 3 years after 9/11. So times were completely different. And I've seen the Marine Corps change. I've seen the Marine Corps change a lot since then. My bad. What was your question?
So just what were some of like what were things that you maybe took for granted about having, the relationship between a home life and your work life and how that can be like a symbiotic relationship versus something destructive?
Yeah, definitely. So, what I learned was that it's real. The Marine Corps, they try to present in leadership that you just have to make it happen no matter what.
Hmm.
And I believe one of my biggest flaws in the military was believing too much of what they were trying to tell me. They call it drinking the Kool-Aid, right? I was like way too brainwashed. And, honestly, I think some of it came from my upbringing where, you try not to disappoint people, but their standards was so high that like you couldn't reach them. We didn't have the resources or manpower to reach those standards. But as a Marine, you had to make it happen somehow. So whenever I was leading Marines and they said they had family problems or they had issues at home, like I believed them, but I didn't have the experience to relate to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
So
that
like
does.
Yeah, so my expectation for them at work was to forget whatever's going on and perform well. I didn't know that your home life could have such a
Compartmentalize.
yeah. I was thinking that everybody could do that, but it's just sometimes it's
No.
not possible with what's going on at home. So that's like the
Yeah.
biggest thing I learned from that.
And I think sometimes too that comes in with, you know, mindset training where we can go in and I think all many of us, right, we work, and how can we come to work and leave our family, our loved ones, our hobbies, all of that behind to come and perform our duty, our job, and not let things that are happening external to that affect us. And that is a challenge. So tell us a little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely.
Yeah, I know you're very big in mindset, and you have a book that you wrote that came out this year. So tell us about your book and the inspiration behind that.
Like I said, in 2018, got married, divorced, and I ended up getting in so much trouble in the military where I got NJP'd, right? And I don't necessarily want to go over the details too much about it, but that's basically one level below a court martial, right? And I was in a position where I was on restriction for 52 days. And if you think of restriction, the best way I could explain it is that if you had a uniform for work, like you have to stay in that uniform even if you're at home. And then at the same time, when you're home, you're more like quarantine. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you can't drive. So it's like you could only go from work to home, and then you're always in your uniform. So that's kind of like where I was. I kind of like experienced some of 2020 before 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, how did I end up in this position? And like, what am I going to do now? And like, I knew I had to wait those 53 days or so. So it's kind of like, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make it through these 53 days? And trying to understand those, trying to get an answer for all those questions, I started to think and I started to learn. Like I had a lot of time to learn.
So what
Like
did
over
you
the
think, and
next,
what did you learn?
well, I thought about like the challenges I had previously in life. My old adversities where I felt like I'm never going to make it through the situation, and even going back to something as basic as boot camp. 3 months thinking like I'm never going to make it through boot camp. Like I had problems in boot camp. I couldn't swim at all, so I spent an extra 2 weeks in boot camp thinking that I wasn't going to be a Marine because I couldn't swim. So I think about those times and those challenges, and I was like, how did I make it through that? What was my mindset? In the Marine Corps, we have these hikes, and I remember this is one of my memories I always go back to. It's almost like a cookie from the cookie jar that David Goggin talks about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the hike, it's like, I don't know, it's like 10 miles or so, all this gear. And I just remember being in the back and thinking, hearing like the drill instructor say, just keep moving one step at a time. So I think to myself, like whenever I'm going through something difficult, just keep breathing, keep taking one step. And just like I made it through those challenges at boot camp, I'm going to make it through whatever I'm going through right now, you know? So I
That's
started
true.
watching, yeah, I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos. Like I said, I started reading books. And what I got to this point where I was just learning one epiphany after another. And I was thinking to myself, like, how come I didn't learn this before? Right. And I was like, the cliche, like if I would have known this back then, you know, what could I
Mm-hmm.
have done? And and then like I realized that the reasons why I didn't learn these things before is because I wasn't intentional about learning about self improvement. And
Can
that's
you
kind of
can you
like
tell us
how,
more about that? Like, what do you mean you weren't intentional, and how are you being intentional now?
yeah, definitely. So as far as like I wasn't intentional, I feel like sometimes you look for the answers that you need, right? You have to have a question out there. So I was put in a position where I had that question, what's going on with my life? How did it end up here? So I had to look for those answers. When I was just kind of like going through the motions and doing the same thing in the military, I didn't have those same type of questions. And one thing I thought about was like, it was this one concept I thought about, and it's, you call it like 7 years or 7 months. And as I was learning everything, I was saying like, if all you needed to be successful was to learn 7 things, right? But you didn't know what those 7 things were, and you didn't know when you were going to learn them. Theoretically, you could learn those 7 things over the next 7 years or the next 7 months. It just depends on, how you go about essentially removing your ignorance, how you go about learning new things that you never knew before, right? So
Right.
that's pretty much what I did. I got super intentional about self-help, self-improvement, mindset, body. Like I just learned, I kept reading books.
Yeah.
And through that, I was like, all this stuff that I learned, all the important pieces, they kind of like came together. And I was like, I should write a book about this. So that's how the book came about. Yeah.
And so what is the name of your book?
Yeah. So the book is called Consistent, Not Different. I don't know if I can say that. I actually wrote the whole book in about a year,
Mm-hmm.
but I wrote so many different drafts of books similar to it,
Mm-hmm.
like over the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
that's,
it's called Consistent. Go,
yeah, no,
oh,
I
go
mean, I
ahead.
love that. And why did you tell us like why you chose that title?
Just like the illustrations on the book, I feel like a lot of times people are on a path in life, and then for some reason, they feel like I got to do something different, and it's not always that simple. Like they get the answer, keep working at this and you'll be successful. And then something comes along that catches their attention that says, this is a new solution. This is a new way to be successful. And then it makes sense. It's probably a solid, legitimate way to be successful. But the issue is when you switch to that new thing, you don't realize that you still have to climb that ladder. So if
Right.
you're always switching between ladders, you're never going to get to the top. So the
Yeah.
book was just about like how to be consistent.
All right, guys, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Encompass Aesthetic Consulting. Now, I am so excited to share this sponsor because I'm a part of it and help create it. Now, listen on. A huge part of what I love to do is giving back and really using my skill set and experience to help others. And I'm excited to announce that I will be offering one-on-one training, consulting, and management advice to our glow getters and our listeners. And I'm not doing this alone. I've partnered with 2 of my closest associates to bring you the ultimate in advice and training for aesthetic practices. So without further ado, this episode is brought to you by Encompass Aesthetic Consulting. If you are interested in becoming a nurse injector, starting a med spa, or really you just want to take your practice to the next level, Encompass will get you there. Our team knows the aesthetic industry inside and out and is an unparalleled resource for an aesthetic practice. We cover every area of your practice and bring hands-on clinical training, business development, legal and medical expertise, all in a time-tested and proven package that anyone can afford. So if you would love to work on a personal level with me and Injector Jen, please reach out to us at info@consultwithencompass.com. That's info@consultwithencompass.com, or visit our website, consultwithencompass.com. All right, and back to the show. And so and I agree. I mean, it's consistency is key, and it's being consistent over time that makes a big difference. And sometimes some of
Definitely.
us, we give up or we shift before, right? We just a little bit too early before you get to that sweet spot. And then we think, the grass is greener on the other side. And that's not necessarily always the case, right? Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hear the grass is like greener where you water it. I hear that like your response a lot. Have you
Yeah.
heard
And
that
I
before?
heard, yeah. And I heard the grass is greener on the other side because it's fertilized with bullshit. So,
I haven't
I
heard
thought,
that before.
yeah, that one, yeah, that one was good. I like that one.
That's dope. That's
So,
dope.
so what are some of, so tell us, we connected, you and I connected through, yeah, the Glow Up Challenge. This was something that we did during COVID and we had time and I find it was just wanted to put out positivity and inspiration when there was so much going on, right? It just hit us in March, April of 2020. And so this was just a challenge where we posted positive things. And from there, that's where I learned about you and that you are big with social media and we could call you a social media expert. So what exactly do you do on social media and what drew you to that?
The changes I was making in my life started to gain attention. I'll say it that way. It started to gain attention. I made changes in myself. And then my best friend, who he's been doing social media forever, for a very long time. And he was like, I see enough changes in you that we could probably pursue social media. So he's the main reason why I did it. Before I would do my own social media stuff, I tried to get a bunch of followers on Twitter and I went about it the wrong way. But he's the one that mainly coached me into it and guided me into like the right way to do it.
So the right way to gain leads and followers on, like, for example, on Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say like I learned a lot from him from watching and from making mistakes. Like I think he was like a little bit too busy to sit down and teach me. But from what he was actually doing, because he helped manage my account. So I got to see a lot of it like, behind the scenes without really understanding what was going on. But through that process, what I learned about social media caught up to actually what he was doing. And I realized that like I felt like I might have learned social media in a reverse order, right? So now as I teach social media, I try to teach it in a way where it's a correct order, if that makes sense.
It does. Can you give us some examples of what you mean and maybe some tips? A lot of us, well, we're all
Yeah.
about social media and part of that we all like to have our content visible and seen and reach others. And so, yeah, what are some tips for that?
Oh gosh, where do I start? Social
Wherever you'd like.
media, right? Social media is, I feel like, and I don't want to be judgmental. So like that's my biggest thing is I could talk about social media, but I don't know where everyone understanding of social media is, and I don't want to come off judgmental. So
Well,
as much
and
as
I
I
yeah, I think
go
this
ahead.
is, and I think this is such a great topic because social media is used in so many different ways. It has a lot of connotations and taboo. So why don't we
Right.
first start by establishing what is social media to you? And from there, yeah, we'll release judgments of it and just hear your side of it.
Okay. Social media is like this world that was created by people to, be an imaginary world. However, it's a reflection of the real world, right? So when I think about social media, people might say this is fake, it's not real, but I'm like, that's a reflection of the real world. However, it's really hard, or I feel like you really shouldn't tell people that, you know,
Why not? Why?
because
Because we like to live in ignorance?
no, it's not because they like to live in ignorance. It's just because, yeah, it's like a sensitivity issue.
Well, I
It's the
disagree. I mean,
truth.
I agree and disagree. It is the truth, and
Yeah,
I think so many of us live in the illusions of the world and of life, and we are ignorant at
yeah,
first, whether intentionally or unintentionally, because it's safe to not know or pretend that it is something that it's not. But in all honesty, it is exactly what you said. It's a reflection of reality, and whether that's taken in a positive or negative light, that's up to the person receiving it or perceiving it. But we're just
Yeah,
stating
exactly.
factual things about it, and I don't think there's anything. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, yeah, because it's like social media is so real, and I feel like people think they could say whatever they want because there's a screen dividing them. But like, that's still people. That's still what they do. If they do something separately off social media, it's not because they're a part of a different world. It's just the same world, different aspects of it.
I like
Yeah,
that.
with
That's
social
true.
yeah, so with social media, it's like it's the real world, but it's the real world and a lot of real world concepts, especially with dealing with people and knowing about people, knowing about psychology and business. A lot of those real world concepts apply to social media, but because people don't look at social media as the real world, they kind of twist it or feel like it's bent, or they could like you know jump onto another ladder and not actually go through the process that they would if they were off social media.
So can you
Everybody's
give
trying to
us
go
like,
viral.
yeah, can you give us, yeah, that's true, right? Can you
Yeah.
give us examples of how, well, how we can actually start to view social media as something that's real and tangible and legitimate, and let go of this false belief that it's fake?
Hmm. I would say I'll probably just go into an example,
Okay.
right? And it's about seeing other people almost the same way you see yourself, right? And I say that with a grain of salt, just because I know that people are so different. Like the way I think is completely different. The way I see the world is completely different from anyone else in the world, right? And I'm the type of person that, like, I have to be useful. And maybe that's sometimes a good thing and a bad thing. But like, I can't just not consider other people, and that's just me. I would prefer to be the type of person that is hardworking, kind of like I see you, just my perspective. You have a lot of stuff going on. I want to do that. I want to like work 24/7 and, do as much work as like if I had 28 hours in a day. But I feel like I'm not necessarily that person. It's almost like I want to sing well, but I'm not a singer. But people say I write very well. I might not be the best speaker, but people love my books or they love my book. I love it. So we are different. But I think the starting point is seeing people, as the same way you see yourself. You know, if you have expectations for others, how would you feel if other people had those same expectations for yourself? Right. So
Yeah.
this is a quick story, and it's in my book. I had a friend, it's a real story. I had a friend, and I was inviting him into my engagement group, and he didn't want to go into the engagement group. He was like, engagement groups are bad. More importantly, he was like, I want real engagement on my page. I want people to look at all my content and leave like long, thoughtful comments and everything like that. And I feel like some people feel that way, right? So at the time, he had 600 followers and he was following about 650 people. So it's pretty even. And instead of doing the engagement group, his solution at the time, of course, he's changed by now, but his solution at the time was to post every day. I'm going to keep making better content until people engage with my content. And, that's the route I'm going to take. And I was like, all right, okay. And I asked him a couple of questions. I was like, okay, you're following about 600 people, right? And I was like, what if 300 of those people posted every day? And I was like, do you have time to look at all of their pages and leave, a really great comment? Look at their content and put something thoughtful inside there. And he was like, no, he doesn't have time for that. And I was like, So why do you expect people to do the same thing for you, on your page? And I think like that's the starting point.
Yeah.
That's just the starting point.
Yeah, and that was beautifully stated because it's true. And it's something that we don't think about it that way, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes we do think more is more when in reality it probably is less is more.
yeah, and it's not necessarily about the less and more. So I teach a couple of things with my social media, right? I guess I
Mhm.
could go into a little bit.
Yeah, let's hear
And
it.
have you seen the movie The Karate Kid? Like I love that
Hmm.
movie, the original
Yeah.
one and the new one with Will Smith's son, right? Awesome movies, awesome movies. Now, the sensei, the teacher, Mr. Miyagi or whatever, as they're training, they do the whole wax on, wax thing, wax on, wax off thing in
Hmm.
the old one. And then in the new one, it's like pick up your jacket, hang up your jacket, put on your jacket, take off your jacket, and all of that, right? So that's kind of like my approach to social media. And it's in the movie, they were doing like the routine things, pick up your jacket, throw down your jacket. They didn't realize what was going on behind the scenes. And a
Which is
lot of
what?
social media is like, well,
Yeah.
they were,
What goes on behind the scenes?
yeah, I'm gonna get to it. But so they were building their body, right? In social media, you have to build certain skills in social media, right? But like they weren't aware of it, you know. So it's like I'm not trying to withhold information from people. I'm not trying to say, you know, just do all this random stuff and then I'll tell you about it later. What I try to do is I try to do, both. I try to say like, hey, this is why. Like one thing is the likes and comments, right? That's probably one of the biggest things you could do on social media. And I think people from Gary Vee to whoever else you can name would agree on that, right? But people hear that and they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't have time for that. Or they don't see the value in it. So I try to get them to do it and I try to explain the value, but I know the value is going to show up more after they do it. So what I try to do with the social media training, I try to, give them theory, give them concepts, and then also give them like practical application so that over time, the practical application produces like self-discovery of why this is important, why this is working, and then it matches up with the theory, right? So in the movie, like both times, the Karate Kid was frustrated and screaming at their teacher. And it's not like I want people to scream at me, but like after the screaming, that's when the sensei told them why they were doing it and showed them how much karate they learned, you know? So that's kind of like my approach. With likes and comments, it's all about being sociable. It's a social network, it's social media. And I think people just ignore that word, the social part of social media. Kind of like back with the same example. They want to put out content. They don't really want to be sociable with anyone else. And they just want people to flock to their content. But
Yeah,
it's just
that's
like what you'll
true.
do. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just like what you'll do outside of social media, networking.
Yeah, the same
So it's like
thing.
the same concept.
So for all the glow
Yeah.
getters listening, that I think it's a really good time to when you next time the next few days you go on social media, rethink how you're using it and are you providing value to others in the way that you would want them to provide value to you. And I think some of those common principles will start to shift how we can use social media. And I love what you said about, yeah, make it social, not just go on and like troll pages, but like give value, right? Be of service.
Yeah. Cause like I did, I work with a lot of people with social media and they have like two common motives. One is to make money, which is nothing wrong with that. But the second common motive is to make an impact. right? They want to make an
That would
impact
be
on
my
their
number one.
audience.
Yeah.
That'll be your number one, right?
Yeah. Just to give
So
value and share content that would help others. Yeah.
exactly. So with make an impact, my thing is, all right, how valuable is a person? If you change one person's life forever, is that an impact,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is, people would rather create content for months and months and months. And, sometimes it might not make that impact that they're looking for. But what if they could just take 2 days and check out somebody's page, leave like some thoughtful advice, and completely change your life forever?
Yeah.
Is that not
Yeah.
an impact, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm taking notes here. So,
yeah. So it's like, impact is easy. There's, a lot of people on social media that needs a lot of help. They might not be CEOs of companies that could promote you, but like their life might be forever changed by what you say to them, just to give
yeah.
them encouragement or compliment. Some people go through life never receiving a hug, and like maybe leaving something positive on their page could be a virtual representation of that. And it could mean
Yeah.
the most to them,
More
right?
virtual hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
So
for that.
I think there's two main concepts to be successful on social media. The
Mm-hmm.
first one is awareness. And as we're talking about likes and comments, the more you're social, the more you network, the more you actually try to, leave an impact and motivate people through doing likes and comments, the more awareness you'll have. If you go on big pages and you go to the comments, the first thing you'll see usually is a bunch of spam. Like, promote this on my page, check out my OnlyFans, make a lot of money with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they know what
Annoying.
they're doing. It is annoying, but
It's
it's also
it
it's
is.
also an
I'm
opportunity.
like, I don't want to go to on OnlyFans. Not going to get your
Yeah,
Bitcoin and not going to promote your content. Sorry.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know if it's like the way I see it, but those are opportunities, not
Well, let's hear
those
it. Yeah,
links.
let's hear it. This is good.
Yeah, not those links, but the fact that you could go to a huge page like Joe Rogan, who has, over, I think, over 2 million. He has a lot of followers. And then you go through the comments, and a majority or a lot of the comments are just spam. So what will stand out in that majority of comments? Probably something of value,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's smart.
there's
That's true.
I'll yeah, I always think of comments as purchasing real estate on social media, because it's going to be there forever, and everyone's going to be able to see that comment, see that you provided value, and then probably check out your page from there, right? This is all stuff you discover through the process of doing the likes and comments. You
Mhm.
could do likes and comments in about three or four different ways. One is kind of like just general likes and comments, where you go to a hashtag or a location and you filter it by the most recent. And the purpose of these likes and comments is to catch people that are on social media currently. The most recent posts will be like within the last minute or so, and they'll just keep refreshing and keep refreshing. If you just post it and then using the whole principle of thinking like other people, if you just posted something that you probably spent 3 hours on, and then within 1 minute someone leaves a great comment on it, naturally you're probably going to see, okay, who's this person, and might check out their page, right? So that's kind of like one thing. And if by chance, for some reason, they post something and then they just leave Instagram for a week, when they come back, they're probably going to check the last thing they post. So if you don't get traffic directly, you'll get traffic over time from doing likes and comments. All right. So it's one of the things I push the most. And then, of course, you can use hashtags relative to your niche or locations based off, whatever you have going on. And then kind
And
of like Joe Rogan.
how often should we
Go
change our
ahead.
hashtags?
You mean on your content?
Yeah, or does that not matter?
I think everything matters in social media, but the thing that matters the most is like an overall game plan. Right?
Consistency.
So yeah, consistency and direction, just general knowledge. With the hashtags, it's good to have like a couple of base hashtags for just your page and then some new ones that are related to the post. So that's kind of like the advice that I found that's best.
Yeah, no,
So
that's very
you have,
helpful.
yeah, you have those hashtags, and you have like with Joe Rogan, I will call that like, you call it stealing people's audience, or you could call it buying real estate on social media, or you could call it duplicating your presence. Like there's different ways you could call it, but like that's another approach. And then after that, I would say liking and commenting on the people that you follow and the people that you're closely associated with, like your network. Because again, I'm I'm following about 200 and about at the most 240 people right now, but I can't see everyone's posts, you know. And then if you're following like over 1,000 people, there's no way you're gonna have everyone posts popping up on your feed intentionally. So if you're
Mm.
more intentional about, yeah, if you're more intentional about the people that you're a network with, what the algorithm will do is start to associate them with you more. So out of the like thousands of people that they're following, your content's going to pop up more because they feel like y'all are social.
Yeah, it actually is starting to make sense. I actually didn't know the mindset behind social media. So I really appreciate you sharing this because, yeah, it definitely puts things in a different perspective. And there's a different way to utilize and use social media by just understanding a few of these key concepts.
Yeah. So I was there, I used to spend about 4 hours on a post and, like a lot of time on one post. And it's kind of like, if you were to do that every day, even if you got really quick and you spent like 2 hours on a post or an hour and a half on a post, and you did it every day. My main thing is like, okay, can you replace that time? Can you post less and fill up that time that you're already using with something that's going to be more effective, more beneficial, right?
Which would be what?
So,
Which would be what?
yeah, the likes and comments, or just planning out what you're doing. So there's two things. The first thing is, I think I said awareness, which is
Mm-hmm.
likes and comments. The second thing, and with the awareness, yeah, I'll just say that awareness. The second thing is substance. This is probably the hardest thing, not just like how great your content is, but who you are as a person. How much you're putting out there to people, how you interact with people on a day-to-day basis, and then kind of like having a plan for your content to keep people engaged or involved. Because a lot of times people are looking for like one thing to do or one piece of content to go viral. And my biggest thing is like, okay, where's all that traffic and audience going viral to? You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like going viral is cool, but like where does it go viral to?
And now for a message from one of our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Alive and Vivid Skincare featuring Bakuchiol Glow, their signature serum containing bakuchiol, a revolutionary plant-based retinol. It also contains cannabinoids, specifically CBD and CBG, as well as other botanicals to combat common signs of aging, including wrinkles, redness, and texture. This is also great for rosacea-prone or acne-prone skin, or those who cannot tolerate retinols and desire alternatives to their skincare. It is formulated with effective and cutting-edge ingredients for those who desire cleaner, medical-grade skincare. Visit drvskin.com/alivevividskincare to learn more and use the promo code BAKUGLOW to receive 10% off your first order. Visit the show links to find this information. Where
So you've
does it
seen
go?
a lot of, yeah, that's the question. Because you've seen a lot of posts that, it'll have like 2 million views, but the page will only have like 200 followers. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like people saw the content, but there was nothing of substance to go to afterwards,
Mm.
right? So my biggest thing is like build up that substance, build up your knowledge on social media, build up your audience, build up your content, build up a posting schedule for what you're going to release next month, continue to learn and improve stuff that's in your backlog so that if you do go viral, you have stuff coming out on schedule that, your audience will also like, and you'll have similar stuff on your page. You won't just have that one miracle post and people are like, okay, there's nothing going on this page. And it almost it goes into this concept I teach. It's like called the bounce rate, right? On websites, Google Analytics, one of the analytics that they have is the bounce rate, which is pretty much how many people go to your website and leave without clicking on anything else, right? So when you go viral, or if you're doing all these likes and comments, or if you, I don't know, whatever else you do, you pay for ads to get traffic to your page, whatever you're doing, once people come to your page, there's going to be a bounce rate. A certain percentage of those people will leave the page without checking out anything, maybe within like 10, 15 seconds. So having your page look good, having your bio look good, having your highlights good, having your ratio of followers to following look good, not having 1,000 or whatever post that just completely overwhelms people for no reason. All that plays into like, is this person going to stay on my page or not? And I think all that's important because my biggest thing with like learning from mistakes is that I don't want people to waste their time. I don't want people to waste their energy or their money, especially not their money or time, when you have a family or you have stuff you care about, like, and then like I know the feeling of like feeling like what you're doing is hopeless, or what you're doing isn't working and you're stuck. you can't you can't find a way to be successful, but you're talented. So it's like I try to help fix the process and inform people the whole wax on wax off thing. And then if they trust the process, if they make the steps, then over time they reach that self discovery, and it links up with the concepts I'm teaching and I'm pointing them to, and they just continue to be successful.
No, I love it. And I think that was very eloquently said.
Thanks.
And it really actually like, right? Like me listening to this, and I hope our glow getters listening, right? It's really going
Yeah.
to make us use and be more intentional when we're on social media. And I don't think many of us are when we go on.
Yeah, and it's hard even when you're trying to be intentional. Like Facebook, Instagram, they're amazing for a reason. Like they're just like, I don't know if anyone else noticed, but TikTok was doing great, and then Instagram pretty much became TikTok by doing the reels right in the middle. So if you click that button to watch your reels, you could get hooked and sucked in for like a while without noticing, right?
Yeah, I
So
never click it. I never click it.
you never click it. That's great.
I don't,
That's
yep.
like that's the perfect move. So it's
Yeah, I
like,
don't want to get sucked in. I'm like, whoa, 3 hours passed. What
yeah,
happened here?
I know. And it's like even when you're intentional, they're great at their job. Like it's
Yeah,
supposed to be eye catching. It's supposed to distract you. It's supposed to provide a break, make you happy. And it's what it does. It's just that, like, if you're going to be on Instagram and you want to grow your audience or be successful, manage your time and, think about your time. Maybe not do that. Or if you're going to spend time scrolling, spend the same amount of time, making your page better.
yeah, yeah. I love that. Those are extremely helpful. And I know after this, I'll probably get a game plan with my team and see, wait, what are we doing right now? And yeah, right, like what can we do to incorporate some
Yeah.
of your tips? And maximize and why we're there or the reasons for using it. So I really love that. So when are you coming out with new content?
Oh gosh. It's coming soon. Like I feel like just like with the little reel button, I feel like once I realized how much I didn't know about social media, I just wanted to share it. So I've been not distracted, but my focus has been pushed towards teaching people social media more so than making content and creating content. And then also trying to push out another book. You know, when people say like content, I'm like, I wrote a whole book and I love the book. You know, I could have did like a series of YouTube videos about what I was teaching, but like I love the book. It's kind of old school, you know, like because it's not on Audible yet or it's not an audio version. But I love the book. It's so much stuff inside there. I talk about time. There's this one concept about. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's this
Yeah,
one.
no, I got your
This is
book when it came out a little bit ago, and yeah, I love it.
yeah.
So I definitely
Thank
recommend
you.
checking it out. But yeah, so tell us about this piece on time.
The chapter on time deals with the past, present, and future, right? And there's a couple of concepts that I like. The future is a real place. Now doesn't really exist. You know, every time you think about now, it's either slightly the present, means slightly the future, or slightly the past. It's not necessarily now. However, now is the only time that things happen, right? Which is weird, is a weird way to look at now. And one of the parts I talk about is like if now doesn't exist, then you know that changes your reflections or your thoughts about pain and the struggles you have to go through to be successful.
Tell
You
me, like,
know,
why is that? Like, why is that?
because a lot of success involves pain, involves hard work, and if you want to avoid the hard work, you're probably not going to do it, and you end up not being successful. But if you think about yourself like this pain that I'm suffering doesn't really exist because you know now doesn't exist, then it might help you to actually do it. Like right now is the gateway to your past. Like in this present moment, we protect what becomes permanent in our past. And then also in this present moment, we design our future that we want. So like if you think about that, it might motivate you to push through the pain, you know?
No, that's true. And it is a different way. Usually the way my understanding is I say there is only thing but the present moment and now. So it's interesting
Mm,
to hear your, right, a different opinion, but
yeah,
I understand that. It makes sense.
yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's true. Cause I was thinking like there's another part where I talk about now and I'm like realistically, now is as far now is as long as you could focus on the present moment,
Yeah,
you know? So
exactly.
if you're super intentional, now could
Yeah.
be a day or a week or a month long.
Yeah, and that is, at least to me, the challenge is to stay focused
Yeah.
and stay present because we function in this, right? We have like hard time focusing,
Mm-hmm.
all these distractions, and we're future
Definitely.
oriented, we're stuck in the past, but if we can put in practices and tools and tips to stop and be present, and then every time we, right, we
Yeah.
lose it, bring ourselves back, train ourselves like Pavlov's dog. I think that
Yeah.
will give us,
Yeah.
it's a similar concept of what you're saying to get through that
Operant
now
conditioning.
moment. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
approaching it from a different point of view, but ultimately it's the same thing, right? How can we move forward or stay present past the pain or different things like
Yeah.
that?
It's just
Yeah.
like going back to boot camp, you know, just keep breathing and keep moving. And it's going to be, you're going to get through it. So I definitely relate to that. It's this one concept in the book where I talk about wet cement. And I say the past is like wet cement. And I feel like a lot of people resonate with that because a lot of people think their past is set in stone. You know, that's the phrase we hear a lot. And I'm like,
Mm,
no, your past is wet cement. like it's still being formed. And in my book, I say like, when you look at your past, do you look at it as like a completed failure, or do you look at it as a work in progress? Right?
Mm. Yeah.
Everything we do every single day and in this present moment now adds to your past. So with that mindset, all you have to do is keep adding good choices to your past, and it's going to rearrange the picture. And at the end of your life, it's going to be a completely different picture. It'll still have those parts that you don't like, but you'll have other stuff, you know, around it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's true because we don't realize how far we've come because our head's always down, right? Like we're working on the next
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, I really like that. How just keep focusing on it, and this picture changes, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I talk about like purpose in the book, and it kind of relates to the picture. And I say, like, imagine being invited to, you know, an art gallery with a bunch of celebrities and famous people, and they have this one piece that's just amazing, right? And it's going to be revealed at the end of the night. And you look through the art gallery, you see all these amazing photos, and you're like, why am I even here? You know, you're wondering how you got invited. And then at the very end, they reveal the art, the picture, and at the bottom right, you see your name. And I look at that as, you know, the picture of your life.
Mm. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's beautiful. That's insightful.
yeah. So the way it relates to the past or just decisions is that your purpose is kind of like putting together a puzzle piece, and that picture is the picture on the box of that 1,000 piece puzzle. But when you're born, you never have that picture of the box. So you're just like, as you're learning things, you're just turning over puzzle pieces, trying to put them together. You never know how it's going to end up. But best case scenario is that at the end of your life, you look back at that picture, you look back at that wet cement and what has completely formed, and you see something that's just beautiful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So that's really good motivation and inspiration, right? To keep doing the good work and not get too caught up in the nitpicky and the little details because it will all work out exactly as it should.
Yeah, stay on that ladder, you know?
Yep.
Stay on the
Yep.
ladder.
Yep. That's true. All right. So I have a little series I call the 5 minute glow ups. So I'm going to ask you rapid fire a couple questions. So
All
you
right.
have 5 minutes. They're really easy, don't worry.
Sounds
You have
good.
5 minutes. What do you do to get your heart rate up?
Oh, I would say probably push ups or some type of jujitsu warm up.
Okay. All right. You have 5 minutes. What do you do for a snack?
Snack? Oh man, my health is horrible. But maybe drive down to Down to Earth and get some type of smoothie.
Okay. All right. So you have 5 minutes. What do you do to rest and relax?
I would either take a nap, but sometimes that's a waste. If not, I would do body rolling or yoga.
Okay. Yep. I like that. So you
Yeah.
have 5 minutes. What do you do for your skincare?
5 minutes. So I use a lot of tea tree oil. I would say probably take a bath and then use tea tree oil.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So
Dope.
my second to final question is, so you've reached the end of your life. You've lived a long, full, beautiful, inspirational life. You've impacted as many people as you could. And you've written your books and they're out there in the hands of others and they're making a difference. And you're teaching others and they're learning. And you have one gift that you get to leave for anyone to come find in the world. What is your one gift?
Hmm. It's a good question. I feel like at that point in my life, I've left my gift. I've there's a part in my book that talks about being suicidal, and like you can read it. Suicide is a real thing, and a lot of veterans and a lot of people deal with it, you know. And I was thinking, like, I don't want to leave this earth without leaving behind something of substance. And I know I'm loved. I know left an impact on people. But now that I have my book out there, I felt like I've left something of substance that, anyone could see later and really gain something from it. So if I have all my books out there, I think that just means that I've lived my life in a way where I was, thinking about what I'm going to leave behind when I'm gone. I really believe that, God created us all differently, and we don't have our skills and our gifts to boast and say, like, look at how good I am. We have it, and, like, it just came from God. So we just do the best we can with it, hopefully make the lives of some people better. And at the end of the day, everybody has their freedom to do whatever. I just want to provide that opportunity. So like that gift would be the opportunity I provided through my content.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that's perfect. And we look forward. I think that's beautiful where you already did everything you're meant to do. So your gifts were already given while you're living. And
Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful. So my final question to you is, what does unleash your glow mean to you?
Wow. Okay. Unleash your glow. Yeah. So what I would say is I've really been thinking about like this tagline or hook that I want to use when I talk to people. I used to do life coaching, right? And like I love life coaching. If I could put in order what I like, it's putting out content or teaching about stuff, writing books, then life coaching, and then social media at the bottom, social media or teaching social media. A lot of times people have problems where they feel stuck, right? They have an idea of who they could be in the future and the goals they could accomplish, but they're not sure if they could do it. So when I think of releasing your glow, I think of let's find out. Whatever you want to accomplish in life, get into a position where you could truly find out for sure.
Oh, I love that. That gave me chills. Yeah, because
Thank
it's
you.
true. I think, I definitely resonate with the growth mindset and positioning yourself, using your words, positioning yourself in the way to be that person who does live out the dreams and, goals that they have. And the person that I am today is very different from the person I was 6 months ago to 12 months ago to 3 years ago to 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
definitely.
That person 3 to 5 years ago was not ready to do all these things that this person I'm doing today. And even the person that
Yeah,
I need to step into or I would love to step into, right? That's how I'm positioning how I live my life. So I love that.
yeah,
So it's very, intentional living. And I do believe that we're here to spread our gifts, that are God given gifts and talents, and
yeah,
finding the way to do that. And when you're on purpose and on mission, things do flow in a beautiful way.
yeah, definitely. Like, I think it's so painful to live or to die not knowing, to always have that question, what if? And to like know deep down in your heart that you're talented enough to accomplish it.
Yeah.
But and then there's just that but there. Yeah.
Yep. And so no more but. It's like you said, go do it, right? Start doing it.
Yeah.
And so you have one more question for me, Dexter. What's your question?
Yeah. So like I noticed on your story something was going on. I was trying to figure out like what was that procedure? Like, what was all that about and how are you feeling?
Yeah, so what we did was a little bit of lip filler. So we use
Yeah.
topical numbing and then we use hyaluronic acid that helps to hydrate and volumize. So I had never had lip filler done. I perform it on many patients. And so I think it's
Okay.
important as a provider to try different things. And so that is what I did. Yep. So swollen
Okay,
right
so
now, but it's going to go down. Give me 2 weeks and they'll be at their resting place.
awesome. So is that like a permanent thing, or is it just like a temporary thing?
So not permanent. There are longer lasting fillers, but for lips, no, it
Mm-hmm.
lasts about 6 months to a year.
Oh, nice. That's a pretty long temporary.
Yep. If you don't like it, you can always get it dissolved. But majority, 95% of people love it. So
That's
yeah.
dope. I love that. I love, like, I keep forgetting that you're like a doctor, and then I see you do stuff. I'm like, what is she doing? Like, that's like some real hardcore stuff.
Yep, there is
You know,
blood,
like,
and yeah, there are procedures.
yeah, Dr.V is not a slogan. It's a you actually done the thing.
Yeah, yeah, right.
It's dope every time I'm reminded that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Looks good.
Yep. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure having you on, getting to know you, and just having you share your stories and your wisdom. You definitely have many gifts, and we're grateful that you're able to share just your expertise with us.
I appreciate it. This is definitely the first podcast, and I'm glad it's with you. You know, like you always motivate me. I love what you're doing, and like when I saw those Instagram pages, I was like just mind blown. It's like, dang, you do so much stuff. Um, I'm truly looking forward to see what you'll do next year. Yeah, because
Thank
I know
you.
it's going to be
Appreciate
amazing.
it.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
have to
definitely.
have to keep my mind busy in different ways, right? So might as
Yeah,
well put it
you're
out doing
legit.
thing that you love. So yep,
Yeah, you're
appreciate
a
it.
legit boss. I'll say that for sure. Legit boss.
Well, thank you. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this episode of the Glow Collective, I humbly invite you to take a conscious moment to keep this vision glowing. I would love for you to subscribe, rate, and leave us an honest review. And if this podcast resonates with you, share it with 3 or 4 of your family friends, tag me on Instagram at DRVSKIN, and let me know which words and messages really hit home for you. Let's get the message growing. And why? Because I really want you to glow. Our time is now. And this podcast is only made possible because of you, because I am called to give back to you and share these ideas, thoughts, and messages with all of you, my intrigued glow-getting listeners. We are high vibrational beings here to grow and feel. We are meant to create and perceive deeper experiences of connection and to ultimately enhance the level of love and joy in our relationships of our life. So this is a wrap to today's episode. I'm your host, Dr. V. Stay tuned for the upcoming episode of the Glow Collective, and let's live, love, and glow.